Hello and welcome to Behind the Fender podcast by the Short Map Players Tour. My name's Mitchell Young. I'm one of the newly appointed SMPT directors, taking a look at the season so far. If you've not heard of the Short Map Players Tour, we are a short map bowls company who organise and run short map bowls events across the UK and Europe to promote the game of short map bowls. All our events are open to anyone to play in, and for more information, head over to our website, shortmapplayerstour.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Behind the Fender podcast with me, Mitchell Young, and introduce Craig and Simon. Hello, both. How are you doing?
All good, Mitchell. All good. Yep, thank you.
Guys, how you doing? Everything okay?
And just for those that haven't heard our first episodes, you can catch it on all of the main podcast applications, Apple, Spotify, our YouTube page, and there'll be a link also from our Facebook page and website. There's been a lot happening since the last time we met. There's been quite a few events, so a lot for us to talk about. We'll crack straight on. So Bowls is Bowls World Fours and Pairs in November. It was great to have the fours and pairs back. A lot of our players that play in that event do say how great that is, and it was another very long day in the fours for us all.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good event, wasn't it? We had good entries in both the fours and the pairs. It is an event we all love, and of course it gives us the chance to play one of our events. Cause previously we've not done so. Obviously we have been playing the singles this year, but yeah, another brilliant weekend, and good to see the four that won a scratch four, but never played with each other before, but they played really well. Obviously won the final on the tiebreak.
I can speak from first-hand experience. They were a very good four, even because I played them in the group, and we managed to edge it in the group. But then they sort of they got through in second, and really done the job. I mean, my four, we come up just short in the semi-finals. You guys had a good run as well
Yeah, I
yourself.
think it was quarter-finals again for us, Craig, I think.
Yeah, we lost to that four actually. Who went on to win it. I think there was one in where we were looking pretty good. I think the actual final score was 5-4. So it shows you how close the match was. But we were holding a very good three, and James Trott played an absolute, he says he was playing for it, but I think there was definitely an element of luck involved in the result that he got. But no, fair play to them. They played well all day, and it's a long day as we mentioned. That's some really good fours that were put together for that weekend, as there always is. And I should also mention the players in the plate as well. It's a long day for those guys as well, and with Gareth Stanway's four coming through to pick up the plate as well. So yeah, some really good teams there, and it's always good that weekend pairs and fours. And as normally happens, the team that does well in the fours, it's very hard for them the next day to be able to have a good run in the pairs, and I think that's what happened again this time. I think it's very unusual for a team that wins the fours for two of those to get to the final. It has been done before, but it's very hard to do.
Yeah, and just to give a congratulations to the winners for those that weren't aware: Errol Marina, Dick Holman, John Lax, and James Trott. And then the runners-up: Gary Moore, Pauline Beattie, Cecil Dillon, and Joe Beattie. And then yeah, the pairs, as you say, it's a long old day if you're in the fours to the latter stages. Those that do so well just because they're so tired from the day before. Yeah, a very good win and victory for Stephen Bucket and Ben Pay as well. They played really well throughout the day.
James Smith and Paul Pomeroy, didn't they, in the final? Yeah, those guys obviously been playing for England all season, so and obviously played at the recent World Championships. But yeah, as you say, I mean, Stephen and Ben played very well. Ben's playing some awesome bowls. Has always been one of my favourite bowlers anyway. I think he's really controlled and yeah, great player. So yeah, deserved winners. 11-5, I think it was, final score. But yeah, they played really well.
Very good weekend that a lot of people do do give us good feedback on just a little bit of variety in and
Mm.
amongst the singles events that
I
we
think
do
there's one
do.
thing just
So
to mention that we did get
yeah,
some feedback with regards to the knockouts when we come to the fours in particular. Maybe looking to remove the trial ends to save about an hour over the course of the day, which actually I think is good feedback for us, and I think we'll look to implement that next for next season. So for those that do get to the
Yeah.
latter stages, it will just cut around about an hour out of the schedule there, which I know we like to give everyone trial ends, but I think just by the nature of the pairs and the fours, we don't necessarily need to have that. For singles, I think it's a different ball game really, but certainly for the fours. So that feedback comes from a few people, and again, thank you for that feedback, and we'll certainly take that on board.
okay, moving on to the British Open, our return back to York after a break due to COVID, and that sprung up some interesting narratives throughout the weekend. Congratulations to our winner Gary McNabb from Ireland. Another fantastic performance all weekend. Back to Matty Wood, and another good performance, getting the bronze medal was just because of the style of play I think
Mm.
opted to go for, which is being very aggressive. He knocked me out as well because running theme already. We're only 8 minutes in for this
It's a lot of
podcast.
losses on the
I'm getting
record here,
knocked
you,
Mitch.
out by a lot.
you've got to become a
Yeah,
better
it's great.
bowler, mate.
But I got first-hand experience of how frustrating it is when he just absolutely nails it in first bowl and you can't do a lot about it. A spectator's perspective, I thought it was a very
Mm.
fascinating watch
Yeah.
tactically from both sides.
Gary was worried. I mean, Gary won't mind me
Totally
saying this.
different
Gary was
styles.
worried before that game.
Yeah.
It was the first time I've seen that kind, just questioning a few things and asking a few questions. And I think there was even a query about the mat that was being used, about someone played in it before and that type of stuff. And you've got a little bit of a concern when a player starts asking those sorts of questions. So I think Matty's approach definitely had a few people thinking differently. And of course, in Ireland, under the IIBA rules, you can't do what Matty was doing now. So it's almost like it's I wouldn't say it's alien to players from Ireland, but it doesn't help them when it comes to that because they're not used to having that or have the ability to do that back home anymore. So I definitely think Matty had a good approach and a different way of trying to tackle that. And again, not just taking a jack in the ditch with the first bowl, but his follow-up bowls after that to the line were fantastic. So you've got to back that up. You can't just take a jack in the ditch and get it. He's getting it clean. Quite a few times, but when you don't get it clean, you still need to be able to back that up with drawing to the line or taking bowls out that your opponent gets close to the line. So no, very good performance from Matty. But I think Gary just showed real determination and real class there, and he was saying he was really targeting the British Open for winning. Obviously, he'd won that previously, that event, so he's familiar with the venue and the setup there. So and it put him at number one in the rankings for a period of time, and obviously we'll come on to Mark's achievement as well. But no, really good performances all round, really, and again a lot of new bowlers there that weekend. It was always good to see some new faces because I think the Northern Championships were taking place the following weekend, so some players wanted to see what the venue was all about. But I remember speaking to one chap who listened to a podcast that I had done with the outdoor bowlers a couple of years ago and took up short mat following that podcast, knowing about short mat. And again, it's always good to get that feedback. So people are listening to these podcasts. Hopefully, you're listening to these podcasts, and we're talking, not just talking rubbish, but talking stuff that you're interested in.
Definitely, and a special mention on the other half of the draw at that British Open to James John Davis from Wales, who had an excellent weekend. The Welsh World Four from the year before that I played against in Belgium, and he's played very well there as
Yeah.
well. So player playing really well as well.
Yeah, he's just a great player. He played in the UK Open at the beginning of the season, made it to the Cup, and then obviously this good run in the British Open. He did play some really good stuff actually, and did hang with Gary for a fair bit in that final. So yeah, should be very proud of how he played. He did really well.
Okay, and then moving on to the English Masters back at Falcon, and Mark Beattie, as Craig said, overtook Gary McNabb, who was not at that event. Also takes his sixth SMP title. I mean, to win one's an achievement, let alone six.
Yeah, just a class player, class bloke. Just so consistent, and that's what you need, obviously, at this level to win the tournaments like that you do. And you know you're always up against it when you're going to play Mark. And I mean, even his victory in the final against Lawrence. Lawrence had, I mean, he was playing awesome stuff, and especially on that Sunday. And they did have a good final, but yeah, Mr. Consistency, Mark, and rightly so, back at world number one now. Um, Obviously, we'll be heading to the World Cup in August as part of the Irish team. But yeah, another brilliant performance over that weekend.
And I think we've got to mention uh, going into that final, one of the ends that was, through you, Craig, on commentary was, I was marking it. I only got a bad back. There was so many touches going on. It was just unbelievable. There was like 5 touches. Jack was going left, right, back again. Thought Mark had the end wrapped up when he took the jacket a ditch to make 2. Then Lawrence comes and puts his toucher in as well. Nearly takes the shot with that one. I mean, it was an end that was full of excitement, wasn't it?
Yeah, and this is it's definitely one of the best ends of bowls I think I've seen from that, because just so many good bowls played. Obviously, the amount of touches that are sort of involved in that as well, and both players obviously contributing to make that end very memorable. But yeah, I mean, it was an amazing end. For those that haven't seen it, have a look at our videos and just watch it back. It is pretty. I think it was 6 touches in the end, if I remember right, 5 or 6 touches. But it was a crazy end from that perspective. Really, really good and good standard all the way through. And I remember seeing a shot that Mark played. He was playing Nathan here, and I think it's quarter final, and he was 2 down. And I didn't see a shot for Mark to be able to get the shot. Not only did Mark get the shot, he managed to take both of Nathan's bowls out and sit for, it was either 3 or 4. So that day he was playing some super stuff, and as Simon said, that's Lawrence's second consecutive final in the English Masters, and I think he's come up against Alex Clay, who we'll probably talk about later on, but also Mark in just an unbelievable form. But to get to any final at our events, I think it really does take some. And again, just to mention Lawrence, to get to back-to-back finals, that's some effort as well. But so yeah, fully congratulations to Mark on not only winning his 6th title, but being back at the summit again of the rankings, which
Yep, and also I mentioned to our bronze medalist Ben Holbrook. He's been playing quite regularly on the tour now as well,
Yeah,
and getting latter stages and deep into tournaments as well, and a good bronze medal win for him as well in
yeah.
that one.
And of course the other bronze medalists. So Dom Reed, who hasn't played for a long time, came back and I think, did he come in as a reserve, Craig?
he did,
for
yeah.
the
He
event?
messaged. We had a
Yeah,
few
so
pullouts just before the event, and Dom messaged that have you got any spots, and be kind with the group that he gets put into. But no, class player Dom, and just I think he was saying that his drawing was fine. He struggled the first day when it comes to having to play any weighted shots, but I think he soon got into the rhythm of that. And from what I could see throughout the Sunday, when we got to the latter stages, he was putting some really good bowls up. Um, Another one to mention, Steve Proctor had a good run, probably his best
yeah,
run for a while, and he probably had, well, he definitely had the game against Mark. I think he almost knocked Mark out at that quarter
yeah,
final stage, and Mark, even by his own, probably would admit this. I think the last bowl, it was looking like it was Procky who was going to be going through. Mark let go of the bowl when he was tight, but he managed to flick his own bowl up in and win the game. So you do need a little bit of luck as well. But I think from there, Mark was just class after that. But had a really battle to come through that game against Steve Proctor. So yeah, some really good performances at the English Masters. A lot of players, and yeah, congratulations to everyone who took home a medal.
And just as you say, yeah, I'm sure Dom was definitely chuffed. I'm sure he wasn't chuffed with
He was
how he
certainly
felt
aching. He was
physically the
aching the next
following
day, the
day.
next couple of days. But I think that's just I've noticed that having come back and played this year, that you kind of get yourself match fit again, if you see what I mean. That so if you haven't done it for a while, you certainly it does take its toll on you.
Okay, and let's hear from the man himself, Mark Beattie, our current SMPT world number one, and after his English Masters win. I'm joined by English Masters 2023 champion Mark Beattie. Mark, congratulations. This is your sixth SMPT title. How does it feel?
Hi Mitchell. Yeah, 6-1. It feels brilliant. It's great to win one again. The last one I got was pre-COVID, in 2020, I think it was. So yeah, great being back up there, winning one.
And also, it puts you now to the current world number one in the SMPT rankings. Was that on your mind at all, knowing some of the people that weren't there, or giving you the opportunity to make ground on them, even on Joe Beattie and Gary McNabb?
Yeah, well, I knew that Gary and Joe wouldn't be there. They were playing in the zone, the zone team event back in Ireland. It didn't really play much on my mind. I just sort of go with the weekend, see how it goes. It's sort of more like, I'm just going to see how far I can get here, and then if I do well, then okay, I'll get it back type thing.
Yeah, and that's put you right in the mix as well for the Order of Merit this season. It's now pretty tight between you, and you're in third at the moment with Pauline and Joe, so it makes it all to play for going into April.
Yes, that it literally just put me right back in the mix. I was trailing for a long time, so yeah, I mean it's going to be quite entertaining. Yes, the World Masters, yeah, because there's several of us that can finish on top.
And let's look at your route through in the English Masters. I mean, the game of note that I caught quite a bit of was your quarter final when you played Stephen Proctor. Now, watching that as a spectator, I found that, I don't know what it was like for you. I'm sure you'll tell us your view, but I found it a very tactical sort of encounter. You were sort of like a game of chess between the two of you, and then yeah, just managed to nab it there in the end.
Yeah, so Steve was trying a running game against me, and it was always close, but he just wasn't nailing it. And any time he did nail it, he was not staying with the jack. I had thought about going short, but the fact that he wasn't getting it sweet and I was getting good weight for long jack or even drawn to the line, I was happy to do that. So it was pretty much nip and tuck the whole way. Was a good close game. It finished with, I was lying one for the tied game, and I was just trying to break off Steve's ball to get the second shot. I knew that I couldn't be too wide, otherwise I might turn him in. So it turned out that I was just under the line for what I was going for, but I was then fortunate enough to catch my ball in front and turn it up for the second shot that I needed.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at you when you played your last bowl. You said to turn you back quite early. Did you think it was? Do you still think you were in the area for a chance, or?
I knew that it was tight for the shot that I was looking to get. So that's sort of why I turned and grabbed my cloth. But yeah, I knew I wasn't giving it away. But yeah, that wee bit of fortune just was with me.
Yeah, and then getting on into the final where you played Lawrence. I mean, one of those ends was certainly on the stream said to be one of the best ends they'd seen, where there was so many touches and the end kept chopping and churning between who was going to win the end. Just talk us through your account of that exciting end.
Yeah, well, it was a great end. I think the jack was nudged out to the left, as we would be looking at it. And I had sort of been quite confident of my attacking play, so anything that was there, I had always decided that I'm going to go for these things. And there were several touchers in the ditch, and I remember I got it in with my last bowl. I was lying beside it, and I was laying two. And then Lawrence came up with his last bowl and played an absolute cracker and put it right in, and was just very unfortunate not to get shot. It was one of those ends that it was just tit for tat. The shot was, changing hands nearly every bowl. It was a really great end.
But he seemed to just sort of manage to control that final. So, even in that end that you were holding a comfortable three, and obviously Lawrence played a really good bowl, but it just didn't quite manage to get a shot out of that. Just sort of seemed to be able to control that final the way that you wanted, sort of it to go, if you like.
Yeah, I think I was playing pretty well. My first bowl was always, pretty decent. It was either on the jack or just, slightly behind. It was always good in a good position. And a couple of times Lawrence then left me a chance. And as I say, I was quite happy to attack if necessary, if anything was left for me. And there was two, maybe three times that he left those for me, and I put the jack in clean. So, just one of those games that everything was going well for me.
And as you say, then you now move into the World Masters coming up, which you previously won back in 2015. So, it's another event that's for me, I think it's one of the toughest singles events to play in and to win even. So how are you feeling going into that one?
I'm the same as you. I think it's one of the best events. You have sort of the preliminary event to it on the Friday, which is good. It's a bit of fun, the pairs. And then the World Masters itself always has the biggest entry, and there's a lot of great players that play in it. It's one of my favourites now, I got to say. I think I have a good record, or good win percentage and all in that one. Or compared to the Irish Open, where I never seem to do well for some reason. But no, it's a great way to finish the season with the World Masters.
And also, what would you say is your best SMPT title you've won out of the six?
Oh, it has to be the World Masters. I mean, to win it on home soil is the one that I've liked the best. You'll get a lot of good Irish bowlers that don't travel, but will play in those events.
What do you think the key is to winning an SMPT event, in your opinion? Because you've won quite a few now.
Well, I always enjoy the Saturdays. You're in a group, so you can afford to lose one game. It's more relaxing on the Saturday. The Sunday is the hard day. You could play your first knockout game at 9 o'clock in the morning. Then you could be sitting until 2 o'clock, maybe even 3 o'clock sometimes. So it's trying to remain focused and active, I think. Take those trial ends on the first knockout game and take it from there. Because I always find the first knockout game the trickiest. If you can get by it, maybe get a run built. I think it's just because you're, as I say, sitting around for so long, and then trying to get back into action and get focused and get back into the rhythm, and get the concentration going.
And what do you enjoy most about SMPT events?
Oh, I really enjoy the whole weekend. As I say, every aspect of it, from the Saturday, the group games are a bit more lighthearted. It's great meeting the people, the social aspect of it. afterwards, chatting to all the different bowlers. The Sunday is the hard day. That's where you need to focus and concentrate, and maybe get a wee break and get a run going.
And what's your favourite event? If you had to pick one, Mark, because I know
Ooh,
all of them.
ooh.
Which one would you say is your favourite and why?
I gotta say now, I really like them all. It'd be hard to call probably between the World Masters and the Norwegian Open. I really love going to Norway, and their venue and their hospitality is great. I really love the pace of their match. They're really fast, and then the World Masters at home in Shaw's Bridge. I think Shaw's Bridge is a great venue, especially the bottom tier where all the mats are. So it would be really hard to choose between those two, I think.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Mark, for your time, and good luck to you in the rest of the season and at the World Masters.
Thanks very much, Mitchell. Yeah, thank you.
Just looking ahead to the new diary, our new diary for next season of 2023-24 is out and available on our website. The first event already is sold out, but you can certainly contact us and get on the reserves list. I think we've got a few for that, Craig, already as well, so that's good, positive start.
Yeah, the UK Open is always a
next
popular event to start the season with. We've got the World Cup on the Friday, and again, a lot of people like to come up and watch the latter stages of that. And and then obviously the UK Open singles on the Saturday and Sunday of that bank holiday weekend. So yeah, really good. And again, thanks to everyone for the support. And we sold out within the hour for that event. So and as Mitchell said, the new diary is out, and the first of every month a new event goes live. So looking forward already to next season. We're not finished this season yet, but it's always good to know we've got those events looking good again for next season.
And do keep your eyes peeled on all of our social media platforms for all of those details of when they'll be coming out, and we'll be keeping you up to date and reminders of those events and when they open, so that you can be ready to go, as our events do set up very, very quickly. So moving on, and I thought we'd sort of segue to a few different things. I wonder what, out for both of you in bowls, do you think is the hardest shot to play and why? So we'll start with you, Simon.
Yeah, interesting one, that. I think for me, you can look at various different shots. Some are easier and harder depending on the type of mat you're playing. But for me, really, I think the hardest shot to play is what you usually class as an easy shot, but when it's right under pressure. So, even just drawing a length to the jack. I've seen it in the World Cup, in many other events. Just the pressure makes it really hard to play. The reverse bias shots, playing conversion shots. There are lots that you can say are difficult to play, but some find them easier than others. But yeah, for me, it is. I think just anything that was usually an easily made shot, but one that's under pressure. That I think that makes it really hard to play. So yeah, that would be what I would say for that.
Anything on the backhand, really.
Of course.
No, I think having to play weight on the backhand has always been the shot that most people tend to struggle more with. Forehand, naturally, you're able to get your arm out a bit more. So, you see many weird and wonderful ways that people try and play weight on the backhand. But I think, as Simon says, it's almost those gimmies that you if you're in practice, 9 times out of 10, or 10 times out of 10, you get it. But when it comes to the match conditions and you've got a foot to draw in, or sometimes even more, they're the ones you need to take in matches. A lot of players, under the pressure, and you look at, I'm not saying they're easy shots, but especially when the pressure's on. But you look at some of the, look at the World Council Championships, some of the finals there. Obviously, Josh would probably back himself 99 times out of 100 to draw that last bowl there. But the pressure he's under to win a world title, It's a different. It's just a different pressure that you're under. So, yeah, the pressure is definitely something you can't replicate in practice. But I think if you can just keep in your practice, just keep doing those. I always used to, years ago, used to go and just practice one shot until I got it kind of 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10. So I was happy with that, and then move on to another shot and keep doing that. So it's just repetition and practice really. But yeah, technically the hardest shot that a lot of people struggle with is probably a lot of weight on the backhand and tight to the block.
I think if anyone wants to laugh, they can just ask Craig to show him an example of him playing
Absolutely,
Wayne's
I've
backhand.
got plenty of examples. Yeah.
That's why he's got to use bendy bowls.
But yeah, no, I mean, I both agree with you, both of what you said. I would say the other one for me, what I think is another one of the hardest shots is to play that between 2 foot to a yard weight, where you're sort of punching a bowl out or rolling a bowl away without crashing the head open. I think that's one of, like, because the amount of people you see just play extra weight and it opens the old head up and it doesn't actually give them good position going forward in the end. But to play that 2 foot, you're just rolling the bowl out, even killing it, but not with like cannoning it through, but just playing that sort of 2 foot, between 2 foot and a yard, where you're just rolling the bowl out clean and staying, getting better
Weight
position.
control is probably
putting
another
your
thing as
opponent
well,
under
which is
pressure.
that, as you say, that being able to play that a couple of foot to a yard, it is a difficult shot, but yeah, weight control is so important at the top level. Some players it's just full on drive or draw, that's all they've got, but to be able to play those shots in between weight, definitely.
Okay, so moving on, and before we get on to our next event, World Masters, we'll touch on a recent World Championships that happened in Aberdeen, and congratulations to Alex Clay, who is the World Singles Champion, to go along with his fantastic season he's had so far, with winning the qualifying singles event in England to qualify, the national singles prior to that, British Isles in November, and then following it up with a world title. I mean, that is some achievement.
Yep, agreed. He's playing really well, and I did watch that final. Really good game, actually. Obviously, went to an extra end, and even that was a measure. I mean, Mikey John's a really class player as well. Good to see a good final between the two of them. But yeah, Alex been playing really well. We saw it in our English Masters a couple of years ago, where he had that great game against Lawrence in the final, and was, really playing well. Won our World Pairs Masters with Thomas Paris. So yeah, really matured into a great player, and I think he'll do really well moving forward.
Yeah, I think you look back on achievements that someone's done in the space of a short period of time, to win the amount of singles competitions in the space of 12 months is quite incredible. I don't think many players have done that, particularly in England. They certainly haven't done that. So it's a fantastic achievement. And I said to him before the World Championships, he's got the opportunity to do something really special this season, and he's gone on and done that. And I think if he goes on and wins the World Masters next month, then I think it's probably one of the greatest achievements that anyone's ever done in bowls in that period of time, to win those prestigious championships and the players he's had to beat along the way to do that. So no, full credit to him. But also mention the other players that done well at the World Championships as well. The guys from Wales, back-to-back World Pairs titles. Jonathan Gladstone and Andrew Hudson. That's a big achievement to do that. Obviously the guys from Wales. I don't know the girl, but obviously Jamie and Andrew.
Yeah. Leanne is I'm not sure that's how you say her name. Apologies if it's wrong, but yeah,
she's done really well to carry those two in the triples.
Yeah. Especially Andrew Jones. I mean, God. But yeah, absolutely brilliant to see that is, and she must be chuffed to bits winning that. And as I say, the Welsh guys there did really well.
Yeah.
And
and John
obviously Mighty
and
winning the fours.
John's four winning the fours title. So yeah, congrats to all those who did well up in Aberdeen. And yeah, it's so I think Alex certainly, that is some achievement, and he's not finished yet, I don't think. So yeah. What I will say, it's again just good to see all the comments that you see on Facebook, all the players congratulating each other, and I think years back it used to be very much sticking to your own countries, but I think now there is just general good feeling amongst all the players, from different countries. It was great to see the embrace between Mikey and Alex at the end there. And obviously, get on really well off the mat as well, and it's always good to see. Um, even in Alex's finest moment there, he was consoling his opponent as well. So, no, really good sportsmanship as well.
Yeah, and also just to mention before we carry on is another well done to Norway reaching their
Yeah,
first semi-final in the triples with Gunnar
Yeah.
Frantzen and his team in that triple played fantastic. They won all their group games, I think, I
yeah,
They
believe,
did, yeah.
yeah,
winning their
yeah,
group.
Yeah.
So fantastic to see them continuing to improve in Norway, and I think them playing on the tour also helps them improve their game a lot with the regular, singles, high level events that they play in. Really does, as is shown from that weekend, really their
Yeah,
progress.
I mean,
So well
Ferdinand
done to them.
obviously skipped that triple, and he's really come on over the last few years. He's going to be a top bowler moving forward. So, yeah, very good from the triple there.
And as we say, moving into our World Masters next month, return to Belfast for the pairs on the Friday. That's a good one. I've had a lot of feedback, and that was from Mark. He said in the interview he enjoys the pairs just to have a more, a relaxed event to get your arm in going ahead into the weekend. But yeah, and then one where a very big field. We've got
216.
216
Yeah,
players.
yeah,
We got.
Yeah.
So back to one of our bigger fields we have had in our events, and as you say, it's gonna you can't pick a winner out of this field right now. I don't think because it's so vast and the high quality players are in it.
But no Alan Paul. So maybe a new name on the
yeah.
jersey.
Relief for the other 215 players that are in the tournament. I think just that Allen's not in there. I mean, his record is scary at Belfast. So yeah, a 50% almost, I think, of tournament wins, which is unbelievable. But yeah, no, I think Alex's odds will certainly be shortened. That's for sure for that. But I think everyone will be gunning for him. And it was interesting speaking to a few people about who they want to play and who they don't want to play in the events. It was, just a lot of people just look forward to getting a big name in their group, which is interesting
Yeah.
feedback. And I think certainly the World Masters is one where you're almost guaranteed to be getting some really good players in your group. So yeah, really looking forward to that with the pairs on the Fridays, as you say, to get your arm.
Yep, and I mean I was discussing this as well with Mark in his interview. I mean my personal opinion is one of the toughest um, singles fields you'll probably play against in short mat bowls. Just because of not only is the field a big field, but also the quality of those players, and certainly like I think we talked about in the last one, just getting out your group into the cup in this tournament is very very difficult in itself, an achievement in itself.
Yeah. And so, of course, with it being the last event, for those of you who don't know, we run an order of merit ranking as well. So that's your points you gain over the season, as opposed to the world ranking that runs for 12 events. And yeah, our top three: Pauline Beattie number one with 556.5 points, and Peter Roberts from England just half a point behind, and then Mark Beattie from Ireland 4 points behind. So all three of those are. It's so close. I don't think we've ever had such a close order of merit that I can remember.
No, it's like any one of those three could take it, and again, be interesting if when the draw is done, how that pans out. You often get a group of death, and it'd be interesting if any of those end up in the same group, and also those gunning for World Cup spots as well. They're still not quite decided in some of the countries' teams, so there's definitely scope for movement there. But yeah, no, it's it's always a great end to the season. I was looking at, I think 2012 was the first year, or 2013 was the first year that we did the World Masters. So yeah, it's crazy to think we've been going to Belfast now for sort of 10 years or so.
Yeah, April 2013.
2013, so it's a 10-year anniversary of our first event in Belfast, and I think we knew at the time it was groundbreaking when we were able to hold the first event there, and it sort of opened the door for us to be able to return, and we always get such good support from the players in well, not just Northern Ireland and Ireland, but from all over really. Belfast is a great venue. It's a great event. I think, as you say, Mitch, it's one of the hardest fields in singles. Just from quantity and quality, both of those. Even if you compare it to other tournaments, I mean, even the World Championships, there was 19 players in the singles. Compared to 216, it's a massive difference in the amount of players in that field. So yeah, it's definitely whoever comes through that and wins that. And if you look back at who's won it over the years, it's like a who's who of short mat bowls. So yeah, looking forward to it.
And as Simon said, like our big finale there's like everyone's got something to play for. Everyone's got ranking points to play for to try and finish their singles ranking as high as possible, with the order of merit coming to a close, World Cup spots, to see where you are in the world rankings at the end of this ranking events for the singles.
Absolutely. Yeah, can't wait.
Okay, and that's a wrap on our second episode. I think we've covered all ends of the bowl spectrum there.
Yeah.
Near enough.
A lot to get through tonight.
We've covered Budgie's backhand.
That's an episode in itself, really.
And, all of our events up to date. So we're all up to date now, and we hope you've enjoyed it. As the guys have said earlier, let us know. Anything you want to talk about. If you want to come on the podcast, let us know. Get in touch, and we'll be trying to do more regular ones as we do. We'll be doing a post-season, and then going into the new season as well. So, yeah, I hope you guys have all enjoyed it. Thanks very much for joining us again. And
thanks, Mitch. Been good.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
And we'll see you again on the next episode of Behind the Fender podcast by the Short Mat Players Tour. And don't forget to check out our website, shortmatplayerstour.com.
if you have enjoyed the podcast, then please do like, subscribe and share so we can spread the word about the tour and short mat bowls. And if you want to follow us for all the latest information, then you can find us on Facebook, Twitter at Short Mat Players, Instagram Short Mat Players Tour, and now on TikTok at Short Mat Players Tour. If you're interested in getting a new shirt to play in our events, or a hoodie or fleece, then head over to bowlstrader.co.uk and type in SMPT into the product search to view our range of available clothing.